Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we're doing something new. We're actually doing a track from scratch. I'm going to be making a high-tech track. The reason why I do this now is because I want to cover all of the different subgenres of Psytrance, and seeing as I'm already working on a high-tech EP, now is a great time to actually start a new production and also try this new format. Now this isn't going to be a comprehensive guide. I am going to edit this quite a bit. If you do want to see me make a track from scratch where I explain everything that I do, then go check out my masterclass. The link for that is in the description. But for now, let's get started with this project. As you can see, we have a completely empty project. Well, actually, I do already have one synth, and this was the inspiration for me to start working on this new project. This is the patch that I made, and I followed the tutorial by Backdom. I'll put this link in the description as well. If you want to check him out, I highly recommend that you do, because he makes crazy sounds like this. So that's definitely something cool that we can work with, but I first want to start with making a kick and bass. For my kick, I'm just going to use a sample. I think I like this number 6 the most. I will also have to set the BPM and maybe edit this sample as well. Let's start off with 180. I think that this sample isn't going to work though, looking at it. I want something a little bit shorter, maybe where the sub comes in a little bit earlier. Something like this maybe. I do want to do a little bit of a volume edit. Just to get the shape in there. We want to do something like, let's say like this maybe. Let's freeze that. So now we can look at the waveform. Maybe we want a little bit more click out of that. This means that we have to resample it again so that we remove the post-ringing. And now we should be all good. I like to do my kicks very quickly. I don't like to spend a lot of time on them. Let's set it to 0 dB. And now let's work on the bass line. I'm just going to go with something fairly standard. I'm going to go into my wavetable pack and go to my bass table. Let's set something like this in terms of the processing for now. We set our filter. All standard stuff. I do want to change some harmonic content here. Just a little bit more in there. And then we'll also make the volume shape. Let's assign velocity right here. Envelope mode as well. And now we can lay out our kick and bass pattern. So for high-tech, the whole idea is that you're going to have 3 equally loud bass notes. Of course, we want to go lower. And let's find a key that works with the kick. I actually quite like that idea. It's a little bit clicky. I feel like it's maybe not dynamic enough. Let's set this up like this and here. Well, obviously that's a big issue, that massive volume difference. That's a lot better. I want to already go to -8, -9 here. Let's try it just for fun. I also like B. Usually I'm an A sharp kind of guy. For this project, I do want to stay away from that because that's kind of like my normal way of doing things. This is a key that I'm very familiar with, but I do want to change things around. Either that or this. I kind of like this more. Obviously, we're going to start with stuff like drums, so we can still listen to it and maybe come back to it if we want to change it. The whole idea is that this is just an initial idea so that I can immediately start working on laying out the actual fun stuff, which is the sound design. Now, if you enjoyed the video so far, let me know by leaving a like. And if you're new here, make sure that you're subscribed. Also, if you want to support me financially, you can do so by checking out my products on Gumroad, including my masterclass that I told you about before, or you can support me directly on my Patreon page. Links for both of those are going to be in the description. Now let's get back into the video. Personally, I'm not a fan spending a lot of time on drums or spending a lot of time on kick and bass. There's not a lot of creativity in there. So I'll just go for the first hat that I like the texture of, mainly this one, and I'll just make sure that it fits. Something like this should be okay. And I like to group my drums and then set this to -11-ish. Sometimes -10, sometimes -12, that's going to depend. And this is going to also hold our closed hat. I'm looking for a fairly long one actually. Yeah, something like this. You kind of can get a very sloppy kind of sound out of the drums. Nice continuous kind of high end there. We get something like that, and then I want to add a snare as well. I'm gonna go with one of the snares from my own drum pack here. Maybe something like this. I know this is in the key of B, but what I like to do is completely remove the fundamental. I like mine a little bit shorter maybe, just a little bit. Now that's an option. What's also an option in high tech is to have a snare every 4 beats. This is also something that you hear more often. So now with that out of the way, let's turn this into an 8-bar loop. And I'm quickly going to set my length here as well. This can be closed already. This as well. Let's keep things nice and organized. I'm not going to immediately name things. I'll do that at the end of every episode. So then in the next one, you'll have all of the track names in there. For now, let's just start drawing out the synth here. And the whole idea of high tech, in the way that I understand it, is that you lay out your pattern. And then what you do is you record all of the cool things that come in here. So let's hit configure so that we can get all of these as automations. I'm just going to set up random shapes like this and hopefully we'll find something good. Next up is the texture. Let's start from the top for this one. And we'll do maybe a few like this to save us some time. Here we'll go like this and like this. I always like to make sure that it returns and that it loops nicely. So for this patch, what I want to do is I just want to turn off this delay for now so that we can get a clean sound from here, and then we'll record that. This will be our first take, and maybe we'll do one more. There is a lot of predictability in these sounds, but what does happen is that there is some randomness in there. You can see it in the waveform that there are some changes. So there will be a difference between these two recordings here. Now what I want to do is I want to make another track so that we can start arranging things. And we'll just listen to this. We'll go with this one now. I just kind of do it randomly. So I ended up picking a whole bunch of different sounds, and this is what we came up with. I do think that sounds quite nice, and we can definitely work with that. Let's add some effects. So now with a little bit of basic processing, EQ, stereo spread, erosion, and a delay, we get something like this. And you can see that I'm automating the dry wet over time. Let's clean up a little bit. I don't really want to keep these things around. This is just going to be one section of our track, and we'll now adapt it to what we have in the loop. Because currently we just have the continuous kick and bass going on and on and on. I don't really want that. I want there to be a little bit of complexity in here. First off, let's start with a cool fill idea. Let's just go with double kicks, and let's maybe reverse this and this. We'll remove the bass right here, and then let's go like this. Of course, we need to make space for that. Maybe for the complexity of the lead, having the other elements a little bit more simple will actually work well. We'll just have this one fill right here, and then what we'll do is we'll add another FM sound on top of that. I'm just going to go and create something here. As you can see, I just went with a fairly basic FM setup. It goes through a fairly steep bandpass, which is controlled by this macro. We have some basic effects, some soft clipping and some compression. Stereo spread for some stereo width. We have some EQing, and then finally a quarter note delay. I'll get something that sounds like this. And you can hear that I lined it up a little bit with the delay that we have in the other sounds so that they work together. Now let's go for an atmosphere. And atmospheres are really easy for this kind of stuff. What you basically need is just like a saw wave. We can give it some detune like this. And then we'll get a shifter, a reverb. Let's go with M turbo verb for this. And then an EQ. And this EQ is just there so that we get no lower frequencies here. And then we'll go with one very big space like this. We'll set it fully wet. And I will use the frequency shifter here to dial in our tone. So what I want to do is I want to generate some higher kind of sound here. So I'll always stay in the positives, and I'll just kind of move around like this. And in this case, we don't really have to worry about it looping. We can snap here if we want to. What I can also do is just copy this value and do make sure that it loops for now. At some point, this is going to become a longer track. So at that point, obviously, it's no longer going to loop. But for now, we have something that sounds like this. Fairly boring with the modulations that we've set up because we're exactly at like the halfway point. So I do want to make this a bit more interesting. Also, we'll shift this off the halfway point, kind of get this like that. We'll add a little bit of extra movement like that. And maybe we'll do like a little quick snap over here. And then you get something a little bit more interesting. I like that. I like how it fits with the track. I just want to add one final effect here, which is going to be the trance gate. I've just dialed in a little bit of shape so that we sometimes get it without the trance gate and sometimes with it. Okay, so now that we have kind of all of the main key ingredients, let's start finalizing this loop. And I want to do it first with some effects. I just put in a downlifter and an uplifter like this. This is in the key of E, so I'm actually going to warp this or unwarp this so we can make it the key that we want. F sharp like this, and then we need to make sure that it rises up until here. So actually right there. Still a little bit boring this part, so what we can do is maybe add one more one shot. Actually, let's keep on waiting with the one shots and let's move this over to the sequence because I do have another cool idea maybe. Let's do some melodic stuff here. Fairly simple melody, fairly boring still. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to create, let's first of all make it the right color. I'm going to create a cool kind of ghostly, plucky synth. I want to make some of these notes a little bit shorter so we get some dynamics. And what's cool is to maybe set both of these pitch bands to 1 so that we can kind of randomly modulate this very, very little. I'll use my favorite type of random modulation like this, and we'll set this to random, smooth all the way up, and let's give it some jitter like that. And we'll go, I don't know, 40 to 60. I don't want too much of a pitching effect actually. Maybe a bit more. As you can see, what I've done with the delay here is that I've turned it off when the sequence isn't playing, and that gives us a little bit more space in the fill. So let's do a final bit of tweaking. I do want to EQ this bass line right here. As you can see, I also decided to saturate it and use an LFO tool to make sure that we don't have any post-ringing. One of the things that I want to do is I already want to set up this LFO depth so that any time that I need to automate it, it's already there. And I can just leave it like this and close that up again. Now, I'm not really going to mix and master things already. Obviously, that doesn't really work with a loop. And what I do want to do for now is I do want to stop it for here. The whole goal of today was just a little bit of idea generation and just starting the project out. I don't want to dive too deep into it. What I will maybe do is a little bit of sound design off camera. That way I can just speed up the series a little bit. And then I have a few patches that I can run through with you guys. So that's going to be the end of this video. Hopefully you enjoyed the idea. Let me know by leaving a like. And if you're new here, make sure that you're subscribed. But that's going to be it for now. I hope you enjoyed and hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.